All right, folks, it's the man with the pinky ring and the New York thing. Forget about it, Bad Brad Berkwood, and you're watching the Bad Brad Berkwood Show on the Ringside Report web TV channel. So make sure you subscribe, leave your comments below the video. Let's have a conversation. Well, hey, today I have a gentleman on, and I want to tell the story how I became aware of him. One of my viewers in Oklahoma, Rosemary, one of my favorite people, sent me a video, actually sent Deb a video and said, you must show Brad this video. It was a video of this gentleman I'll introduce in a minute singing New York, New York, but it was a parody. And if you know who Sammy, if you're a Sinatra guy, you know Sammy Cahn and Jimmy Van Heusen used to write different lyrics for Sinatra when they had some fun, like when Kennedy was running in '60, they changed High Hopes to a more of a campaign song. Well, this gentleman sang a parody, as I said, of New York, New York, about Donald Trump. It was from last year, about when he and the wife moved to West Palm Beach. It was on the Colbert Show. I saw it. It's got millions of views, and I was on the floor. I was dying. I sent it to like 20 people, and they still texted me about it, saying how much they loved the clip. So I reached out to this gentleman. He was gracious enough to say, hey, Brad, I'll come on the show. He's a New Yorker. He's standing in his place in Manhattan, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Pete Caldera. He's a crooner. He's a writer. He writes about the Yankees, which is my team. I'm not really a baseball guy as much as I used to, but I am a Yankees fan. I'm an ex-New Yorker. I want to welcome you to the show. Welcome.
Thank you, Brad. Appreciate you having me on. Really,
absolutely.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
You see, he's dressed in a tux.
This is, it's just a weekday in New York. Exactly. I'll be doing the laundry later, and
but
a little dressed up.
The question is, we can only see him from the jacket up. Are you in your boxers?
I have pants on. Hold on.
There he goes. There you go. Before we start,
we went full out for the whole show. This is a classy show, Brad. Come on.
Exactly. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, for the Sinatra viewers, because I got a lot of them. Tell them about your stuff in the background. Tell them what you got.
We got this is the Sinatra library wing of the palatial one-bedroom apartment we have.
Hey, that's real estate, buddy.
Yeah. I loved when Frank had a show for Chesterfield in the 50s on ABC. Obviously, he was pushing Chesterfield cigarettes and of course Jack Daniels. All the good healthy stuff. And I've got to read the Kaplan book is next on my list, but and there's a lot of stuff on the shelves from the Dorsey days and even going back to Harry James. I love it all. I can't get enough of reading and listening to whatever Frank put out there and whatever's out there, and even the bootleg kind of concert stuff you get your hands on occasionally.
Oh, I got them all.
I love hearing that.
I got them all. There's a guy, I won't say his name on tape. My Uncle Stan, God rest his soul, worked for Sinatra in the 40s and early 50s for one of his publishing companies. And he's got a guy, I don't know if he's still alive, but he was out of Long Island. And he did all the bootlegs, which I have, because when Uncle Stan passed, he gave me his CD collection, which is probably in it maybe top 3 or 4 in the world. And one thing that you said about bootleg, I always got a kick that the bootleg guys made better covers for their CDs than the actual Capitol and Reprise did of the albums and CDs. They were real creative with their covers that they did. The actual cover of the CD or albums, because I have some albums too that were bootleg. I always got a kick out of them.
Passionate fans. You got to love the stuff. That's why.
Absolutely. Well, hey, again, like I said, welcome to the show. I want to start out the story that I was telling about your video when you did the Colbert Show. Let's talk about that first. How did that come about?
Well, and at first I must say that that was the creative brilliance and genius of the writers on Stephen Colbert's staff. They are brilliant, and you see their brilliance on display every night. And the quick story is this was done last November I ran the New York City Marathon for the first time, and probably the only time, on November the 3rd last year. On November the 4th, I was on my couch planning to spend the entire day planted there, and I got a phone call from a number I didn't recognize which you usually don't pick those up, but in my state I did. And it was a producer from Caldera show and said, can you come down to the Ed Sullivan Theater and do a Sinatra song for a skit we're planning? Sure. And they had gotten my name. Actually, well, just to go back a little bit further, I sing once a month when we weren't in a COVID situation at the Carnegie Club in Midtown Manhattan. And they also do a Sinatra show on Saturdays, every Saturday they used to. Hopefully it'll pick up again pretty soon with a fellow named Steve Maglio, who does a brilliant job with the Stan Ruben Orchestra, 11-piece band. And when Steve can't make the show, if I'm in town, I'll sub for him. Anyway, they knew about Steve. They asked Steve. Steve couldn't do it. Steve gave him my number. And I went down to the Ed Sullivan Theater and we taped that in front of no audience. It was just taped about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Crowd comes in about 4:30. They play that cold opening for them, and then I'm amazed that it took off as it did, and because of the brilliance of the writers and John Batiste and his fantastic orchestra at CBS and the Colbert Show, and now apparently it's getting a new life all over again since the election.
Okay. Like I told you, the line "Uno, dos, and tres" was hilarious.
That's the Colbert writers. They're fantastic.
They're fantastic. Okay, you mentioned that you sing with the Stan Ruben Orchestra. You're not a Sinatra impersonator, which I want to put that out there.
Yes.
You do Sinatra music and other music.
We do, yeah. When you do a Sinatra song, especially when I'm filling in for Steve on the Saturday nights, it's a Sinatra program of music, and it's all the stuff that you recognize, and it's done with the same orchestrations that Nelson Riddle and Gordon Jenkins and Johnny Mandel wrote, to the letter, played by a fantastic New York orchestra, and we try to present it in the style that people are accustomed to seeing it, and it's a Sinatra show, and you want to get that vibe, and of course, but there's no one that that can replace Frank Sinatra. You're just trying to give an audience a taste of what it was like maybe to hear him in a nightclub with a little band, which is the way he loved to perform. Nightclubs, small orchestra, and right out in front of the people like that, and give you a taste of that, because there's no one really doing this stuff, at least not the way that they do it at the Carnegie Club, which is so it's such a beautiful, perfect setting for this. And I hope people come and see the show and see it the way it's intended to be performed. And hopefully we'll get back to that fairly soon.
Okay. Do you make the pilgrimage across the bridge to Hoboken? Have you been to his house and all that stuff? I have.
It was a couple of years ago. They had the library at Hoboken had a program display and things like that. It was terrific. Around Sinatra's 100th centennial anniversary of his birth, there was a lot of stuff going on in New York and in Hoboken. And yeah, been to 415 Monroe Street. Finally, there's a plaque there now, and there's a place. I hope it's still there. Leo's Rendezvous. In Hoboken, that has a jukebox that all it has is Sinatra music, and the stuff on the walls. It's fantastic.
Okay. Let's go back in time. Are you born and raised in New York?
Yes. Born in Brooklyn, went to high school in Rockland County, went to college on Long Island, and fortunately still here and in Manhattan and covering the Yankees.
Okay. Were you exposed to Sinatra from your dad like I was, or how did Sinatra come into your life?
Brad, my dad is an opera guy.
Okay.
We grew up with hearing opera on the weekends, and my mother was the Frank Sinatra fan. She had all the albums, and I kind of discovered that through her. And then I don't know if you remember a guy named Sid Mark on the radio.
Of course.
He had
Philadelphia.
Right. And so when his show was syndicated when I was a teenager on WYNY in New York on Saturday nights, I would listen to that all the time and then tape the show. And then I went back and was going to record stores to find this stuff on my own, and started building it from there. And yeah, that's how it happened.
Well, you mentioned Sid Mark. What was it Jonathan Schwartz?
Jonathan Schwartz, where I think I got a PhD in Sinatra just by listening to Jonathan Schwartz on WNEW, and even before that, William B. Williams. I remember his show in New York on weekdays.
And he named him the chairman of the board, William B.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Willie B. named him the chairman of the board. And yeah, fortunately, I got in on sort of the tail end of, before those stations went away. I got to, listen to those guys, and really formed my appreciation for Sinatra.
Were you ever a member of the International Sinatra Society out of Lakeland, Florida?
I was.
Gary Doctor.
I was.
Did you know Gary, or did you know Dustin?
It was Gary Doctor, right?
Well, Gary was the father. He died really young. And then Dustin and Mary, his wife, Dustin's mother, took
right.
him.
Yeah, I was for a time. Yes, I was, and I got a lot of. I got a lot of tapes of stuff that you couldn't find anywhere else from them.
Then when the internet came, they kind of knocked them out, because then it was competitive. You could get things priced a little bit better than what they were selling. But at that time, they were really rare, and they were out of Lakeland, Florida.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Frank in concert?
15 times.
50. You got me beat by 13.
15.
Okay.
Yeah.
First and the last one. Which one were?
First was Atlantic City. Yeah. No. I'm sorry. That was the second time. The first was Carnegie Hall, 1985.
Ooh, nice.
1985, and the crazy thing is, Carnegie Hall is now located. I mean, it's basically across the street from the Carnegie Club where we play. And I saw Frank on the street right there on West 56th Street after the show, just getting into his car, kind of thing. But yeah, it was the greatest. He came out. There was no introduction, which you don't need one. Frank Sinatra, he just walked on the stage with the music under his arms, and put it on the piano, and just started singing in Carnegie Hall, 1985. And the last time I saw him was Radio City Music Hall. I want to say 1992 or 3. I think
92 was the big one when he was there. I remember.
Yeah, that had to be then. Yeah, it was because he played. I think he played about 2 weeks in New York.
Okay.
But yeah, that was it.
Okay. Yeah, you got me beat. The first time I saw him was in '78 at the Sunrise Musical Theater in Fort Lauderdale with my dad. And the last time I saw him was in August of '94. And as you know, he retired in December of '94, even though in February of '95, he did that couple songs at the tournament, but his last concert was in Japan.
Right, he sang the 4 songs in Palm Springs, or wherever. Yeah.
Right, and then I saw him in August of '94 at the Merriweather Post Pavilion, and I told people, no, he didn't hit every note, and he didn't remember every note, but you know what? 30% of Sinatra is 100% better than most. So, and I stand by that then, and I stand by that now.
Very true. Very true.
The first album or CD, well, 85, you had albums. What was your first album?
Well, my mom, as I said, had the albums, but I want to say that, the one I remember most and playing the most was Songs for Swingin' Lovers.
Oh, yeah.
Because that had I've Got You Under My Skin on it, which is maybe the greatest recording of any song that was ever done in a studio.
Yep.
And then just, hearing that over and over and over again. But yeah, that was the one that stood out to me.
Okay.
Immediately, yeah.
Favorite Sinatra.
All the Capitals. Favorite
Sinatra movie.
Ooh, well, I got to separate them between the dramas and the musicals, I think. It's not a great movie, but I tell you what, anytime Pal Joey's on, I
love Pal Joey.
The next hour and a half, I'm not moving because of the music is so good, and he really plays sort of the character is as close to himself, nightclub singer as you can get. But the Manchurian Candidate, and certainly topical these days, and sort of that the weight of that subject and the acting, it's timeless now, and it's so good. But for his his best singular acting job, it had to be Man with the Golden Arms, I think.
We're twins. Because most people say From Here to Eternity, and he was good as Maggio, but to be honest with you, when he played Frankie Machine in Man with the Golden Arm, I mean, he should have got the Oscar for that. And he was up.
He was nominated. But yeah, in fact, From Here to Eternity was just on last night. I was watching part of it.
Okay. You remember when, I think the actor's name, I think it was Arnold Stang, when he was painting the dogs?
Yes. In Golden Arm, yeah.
Golden Arm, and Darren McGavin was the drug dealer, and the guy
had that unmistakable New York voice.
With that unmistakable New York voice. Okay. If you had to say his finest performance, I know there's so many, but one or two of his and you can see a lot of them on YouTube. What do you think Frank's finest performance was?
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, it's hard to. I'll break it down this way. The stuff that I love to watch and that I cannot get enough of watching is Frank in 1962 when he took the world tour and he took that sextet around Europe and Israel and went to Spain and London and Paris and did just a summer's worth of shows, and it was for the children's charities all over the world. But the music and just that setting, that he basically brought that nightclub setting to audiences that hadn't seen him in a while or maybe hadn't seen him at all. And it's so musical and it's so good. And to hear him, just, run out there and just do Goody Goody and I Love Paris and all the stuff that he did with the small band. And they really did a fantastic job of shrinking down those great arrangements, those riddle arrangements and that he did, on Capitol mostly, and some on Reprise at that time, and doing it for a small band and just going out there and winging it on a nightclub stage. I can't get enough of watching that.
Was Red Norvo the quartet? I can't remember.
He did, yeah. Well, he performed with Red Norvo. There's that really great album they did in Australia, that live, which I guess originated as sort of a bootleg, but it's out there in the public realm now. That stuff's fantastic, and that's right. Red was played the vibraphones, and he had a small orchestra behind him, small band, and yeah, it was that kind of stuff, and I think that excites me to no end to watch him perform, watch him really, bite into that nightclub audience and give them Sinatra, that at the height of his powers as a vocalist.
Okay. Does it get you right here every year when it ball drops and they play New York, New York?
Well, you know what? I mean, we're spoiled in New York because you get a lot of everything, and we've done it. And fortunately, I've been at the Carnegie Club now on New Year's Eves for the last 9 years. And the ball's dropping about, I don't know, quarter of a mile away. Down 6th Avenue, and you could see it if you walked out, walk down the street without the barriers and stuff. It's New York, New York. It gets overplayed, and if you cover the Yankees, you hear it 10 times a night after a home game, whether they win or lose. But in that setting, yeah, it's great.
Yeah. The reason why I say get you is that Frank, as we both know, passed away May 14th, 1998. So it's been 22 and a half years that he's been gone, but that he's still relevant. You talk to a young person, they may not know Dean and Sammy, though they should. They may know the Rat Pack, but they definitely know Sinatra. They definitely know Sinatra.
Right. And right, the layman knows him for New York, and
right.
My Way. But I would hope that if that voice and that presence, hits you, go discover the stuff he was doing in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. The real, the real essence of Frank is right there in those albums and those performances.
You have a favorite Sinatra quote? Because he had so many.
Favorite Sinatra quote. Yeah, you're right. There are a lot of them. And I don't know how many are actually, accurately attributed to him. There was the Life magazine. It was the Life magazine story that he did where
65.
I think there were some stuff there. But yeah, you got to love living, baby, because dying's a pain in the ass or something like that.
Yep. Success is the
They're
greatest.
all great.
Success is the greatest revenge.
Yeah, and he would say on the stage every time I saw him that I hope you live to 150 years old and the last voice you hear is mine.
Mine. Okay. Back to as well, you got the singing side of you, but as you said, you also write. Talk about your writing career.
Well, I'm fortunate enough to have been covering baseball at the Record, Bergen Record, for 20 years. Started on the Mets beat, doing the Yankees for the last number of years. And, up until this year, I mean, it was, everything changed this year, obviously, with the 60-game season and limited travel. But we did travel. I mean, that's one of the best parts of the job, I think, seeing the country and getting to, be in those cities and staying, getting a feel of different towns and places all over the country. It's a wonderful perk of the job. And then covering a team that's constantly interesting, whether they're, playing or not playing. And, even now is a time where, you're wondering who they're going to trade for, who they're going to, take off the roster, who could they non-tender, who could they sign a free agency. Last year they get Garrett Cole around right before Christmas time. There's a lot of free agents out there now that they may or may not be interested in. I think they're going to try to pare down their payroll at least a little bit, and they have some major decisions at a lot of interesting, important positions right now. And now you've got a team in New York with that has a new owner in Steve Cohen, who wants to spend with the New York Mets. So it's always an interesting time to cover baseball, and I'm hoping that we're back to normal next year, because things sort of ended in spring training. We spent 6-7 weeks in Tampa, Florida, down there with the club. Starting in early February, and about mid-March, that's when the whole world changed. And 2 weeks later, we were back in New York. And did some limited travel. We were with them in San Diego during the playoffs this year, and that was fun, but not the same without the fans.
So as you're telling the story about covering them, I can't remember who played the reporter, but I envisioned you with a fedora. Now, back in the day, you just had a little.
That's very good. Yeah, I like
it. In the on the side, but like in the natural, who was the press person in the natural with Robert Redford?
Oh yeah, that was Robert Duvall.
Was it Duval or was it Robert or the other guy? I could see his face.
I should know, but
not Robert Wall. Was it Robert Wall?
Well, he was in.
It might have been Duval.
The Kevin Costner movie, Bull Durham.
Bull Durham. Okay, I think it might have been Robert. So you like the Robert Duval of the Bergen?
No. I'm lucky I'm me. It's over there. It's
okay.
But no, I think for the most part, the star of that show is the club and the players and the personnel, and you just try to chronicle it as best as you can.
You have a favorite? I don't know if you could say it being a reporter, but do you have a favorite all-time Yankee?
You know what? I really enjoyed covering Mariano Rivera. He was a gentleman every day, on the beat there. Guys like Brett Gardner, really personable guy who cares about, helping you do your job. Real professional. It was a pleasure to cover, guys like Mariano and Gardner and Derek Jeter and to see those guys perform every day at the high level they did and under the pressure they're under. Yeah. Mariano stands out. Hideki Matsui was another, actually, if I got to put one in that probably tied with Mariano, he was a gentleman every day too.
Now, when I followed the Yankees years and years ago, my personal favorite was Thurman Munson. I love Thurman Munson. Do you go back with them that far? Bucky Dead, Thurman Munson, all those guys?
I sure do. Growing up in New York, but I was a Mets fan. I was a rabid Mets fan.
Okay.
Growing up, and so when when the Yankees were winning in the '70s, I had those Joe Torre awful Mets teams that were coming coming in last every year, but that was my team. So I got to have fun in '86 when they finally won.
Okay. Before our time, but just curious because I'm sure obviously you're a baseball guy, like I'm a boxing guy. Sandy Koufax, I know that's before our time for the Mets. Do you think he gets enough credit for being as good as he was?
Koufax?
Yeah.
I think so. I wish I'd seen him pitch, and obviously retired at a very young age, 30, because of the condition of his arm and the arthritis after, pitching so many innings at such a high level. But yeah, I think he's in the Hall of Fame for a reason, and I think he's on that short list of if you needed to win one game, who would you pick? And Sandy's name comes up a lot, and for good reason.
Okay. Curiosity, COVID. How's the city doing?
Having been here in late March and all of April and May, when things were at its bleakest and emptiest, you'd walk in the middle of Park Avenue and not get bothered by anything but a pigeon. It was to see how the city has come back since then. It's been it's been satisfying on some level because this is my town. I love it and wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And you want to see it all come back, but we've moved back into another stretch where the governor is now put a limit on the when the restaurants and bars have to close now at 10 p.m. because of this next wave that seems to be coming in now. So, but yeah, you walk past a lot of, in the last 2-3 months, restaurants that have their have moved to the sidewalks, have moved to the the streets there, and are very vibrant. And I hope that business keeps up.
Okay. Out of curiosity, obviously we both adore and love Sinatra, but aside of Sinatra, growing up, your teenage years, your college years, you mentioned where you went to college, who are other groups, more of of our generation that you enjoy?
Almost none.
Really? Okay. That's fair.
No, I got to tell you, Brad, I never, to the extent I listened to FM radio, it was only if somebody else had it on. I was listening to Sinatra and Tony Bennett and Bobby Darin and the Basie Band and Ella Fitzgerald, and trying to find all that stuff, Keely Smith and Louis Prima and Louis Armstrong and Bing Crosby, and I'm still discovering this stuff. That's the stuff I love. There is nothing. I can't watch the Grammys because it'd be like watching something in a foreign language to me. I don't know what it is or who's performing or who these. I'm sure they're all fantastic, great talents. They wouldn't be there if they weren't. It's just not a music that speaks to me.
Okay.
I'm still living in 1953 musically.
That's okay. That's pretty much what I listen to as well. You like singers like Matt Monroe? Matt Monroe?
Matt Monroe, the English Sinatra. Yeah, I like his. I heard that he wasn't, in a concert, setting. Maybe he wasn't that dynamic, but what a great voice, and and picked a lot of great material to do.
And another one from Hoboken. The other Italian singer that got in trouble with Sinatra because he wouldn't come. Dolly wanted him to sing, and he wouldn't do it. Yeah, go ahead. You were saying. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, not Al Martino.
No, I actually interviewed Al Martino. He kind of got in trouble too, but we'll tell that story in a minute. You were about to say Jimmy Roselli. You were about to say Jimmy Roselli. You know the story, right? Dolly wanted him.
Jimmy Roselli play, or Frank asked him to play his parents' 50th anniversary in Hoboken.
Something like that, or yeah. Dolly asked him, and he said no, and that was pretty much the end.
No.
He stayed around, but he wasn't big like he was, because he was from Hoboken too.
They know to Frank.
I know. Al, who I interviewed for my boxing book years ago. We were friendly. God rest his soul. Another one of my favorite singers. Frank didn't want him to take the role of Johnny Fontaine, and Frank, sometimes Frank had a temper, so he said, "You're not playing Vegas anymore." And Al Martino didn't play Vegas for a lot of years because of that. But Al Martino is another one I like. You like, out of curiosity, you know who Don Cornell was? I'm Yours, It Isn't Fair.
yeah. I haven't listened to that much.
Okay,
Sorry.
I'll send you some clips. That's okay. Another Italian
Do,
singer.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll
I've
send you some clips.
seen Tony Bennett a million times too.
Oh yeah, Tony Bennett.
I wish yeah.
I
Wish
saw him
I'd
twice.
seen him earlier.
Yeah, me too. I saw him in '93, and then I saw him again in 2010. 2010.
Yeah.
But he's something else. But back to Sinatra. Nobody, Don Cornell, believe it or not, on the stage, I think Bobby Darin definitely had a nightclub floor. He was as good as Sinatra, in my opinion. I know Sinatra was bigger, but Bobby was fantastic.
Darin had a presence.
Darin had a presence. But yeah, Frank, just forget about it. Frank was the man. Any stories about Frank that you really enjoyed? Maybe one that you could share with the listeners that may not know, because I know there's so many, but that stick with you as a Sinatra fan.
Well, when I'm on the road, traveling, I love to try to go to the places where I know either he performed or like some Sinatra event, happened. So, I mean, I don't know if this qualifies for what you're saying, but like for instance, it was a time we were in Chicago, when the Pump Room was open at the Ambassador Hotel, which sadly is not the Ambassador Hotel anymore; it's somewhere else. But and even in the lyric of Chicago, the Jumpin' Pump Room, Chicago. That was right. That was the restaurant in the Ambassador Hotel. So I'd go there and have lunch, and then I went to the Palmer House in Chicago, which was another great old hotel in Chicago. And that apparently in the Palmer House, at the bar area there, was where Frank was performing with the Harry James Orchestra, and he had to tell Harry that he was jumping to Dorsey, the bigger, better Tommy Dorsey Orchestra at the time. That was a huge career move for Frank, and so I had to go stand in the lobby of the Palmer House bar and have a drink and imagine that conversation, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a great Sinatra concert that's I might have originated as a bootleg too, that he did in Seattle in 1962, and I went looking for where that was, and it was up near the Opera House where the Space Needle is up there. Yeah, stuff like that. That's what I do.
Okay, the Seattle one, I think that might be 57. Is that the one where he comes?
Oh no, you're right. Yeah, it is the 50s. Yeah,
I think the Peter Gunn theme is like the dun dun dun.
Yes. Yeah. The man that was the man with the golden arm.
Yeah. Right. I think that's 57. Yeah. That started out.
Yes.
Yep. I've had
very good.
Years. All right. If you would, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I am. Would you sing a couple songs or a song?
Sure. I was telling you earlier. You go on YouTube and you fall down these Sinatra rabbit holes, right? Looking for stuff that he did live in front of an audience and stuff, and stuff he did on Bing Crosby's show or wherever. There was so I was looking at one the other night, and he's on and you might have seen this, Brad. I'm sure you have. He and Dean Martin crash the Tonight Show, and Joey Bishop is guest hosting for Johnny.
Yeah.
And of course Joey tries to get them both to go up and sing. I'm sure this was preordained, because Sinatra had Bill Miller already on the piano over there.
Yep.
I don't have Bill Miller. I wish I did have Bill Miller on the piano.
Untan Charlie?
Yeah. So Frank goes up, and ironically it was Juliet Prowse who he had.
Yep, from Can.
Who he was engaged to for a time was on the couch there. So he sang Angel Eyes. So something like, and I brought a little libation for this. Drink up, all you people. Order anything you see. Have fun, you happy people. For the drink and the laughs on me. Try to think that love is not around. Still it's uncomfortably near. My old heart ain't gaining any ground because my angel eyes ain't here. Angel eyes that old devil sent, they glow unbearably bright. Need I say that my love's misspent with angel eyes tonight? So drink up, all of you people, and order anything that you see, and have fun, you happy people, for the drink and the laughs on me. Pardon me, but I've got to run. The facts uncommonly clear. I've got to find who's now the number one, and why my angel eyes ain't here. Excuse me while I disappear. And then he would fade in the back of it, the whole thing. But it was so much better with the piano.
I understand.
That's
I enjoyed that. The greatest Torch song.
Just skip ahead on that part. And,
the greatest Torch song ever, in my opinion.
Yeah, right there with One for My Baby, obviously.
One for
but Angel Eyes is so much more, a lot of depth there.
Yep, Frank, and with the cigarette,
which Frank did, and we can only mimic in a very amateur way.
That's okay. I enjoyed that. Can I get you to do a half of something else?
I was thinking so that was another one. I went another YouTube hole I fell down the other day was you got to watch the medleys he does with Dinah Shore.
I've seen them all.
Love that. They are so good. And they're both so on. And you can see how much they care for each other and have fun doing what they're doing.
He loved
that. And then, and then he was on with Crosby. Comes out for the Edsel show in 1955 or 6. And, and he says, and Crosby says, "Hey, how you swinging, Frank?" And he goes into, "When somebody loves you, it's no good unless she loves you all the way." And then he sings a little bit of Love and Marriage, and then he goes into, "Baby, won't you please come home, because your daddy's all alone. I have tried in vain, never no more to call your name. When you left, you broke my heart, because we never thought we'd part. Every hour in the day, you will hear me say, baby, come home." And then he hits another high note that I don't want to scare the neighbors with.
That's okay, thank you.
That
was good, Andrew.
I may have to see them in the laundry room in a little bit.
Yeah. In your tux.
Naturally.
I tell you, when COVID breaks, I'm bringing Deb back east to meet some of my crew. I'd like to come see you and do your show.
We have a lot of fun. It's we just freewheel it with a small orchestra and just calling up tunes and mostly the stuff that Frank and Tony and Bobby Darin do, and Nat Cole.
Right. Well,
so much fun.
I'll tell you something else. I'm not going to pull you into politics, but I am going to make a Sinatra point. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to. But Frank made a comment about the current occupant of the White House years ago when he tried to get him on a business deal, and Frank knew. And if Frank knew, a lot of other people should have known. And I'll leave it at that. But one other question with Frank.
I was thinking of the song "Don't Like Goodbyes" lately.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one too.
Kind of applies, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
Don't like goodbyes to you. get into that.
Who did you like when Steve and Edie used to open up for him?
Yeah, I saw them at Frank's 75th birthday.
Yeah,
Was at the Meadowlands.
Meadowlands,
He
yep.
was performing with them, and yeah, I got to see them. Love them. What a voice, Edie Gourmet.
Oh gosh, he was fantastic.
One of the. You have to hear Edie Gourmet sing when he walked into my life today,
Yep.
and all that's great stuff. Oh, fantastic. And
Yeah.
Steve Lawrence.
It's sad he's got Alzheimer's now, Steve.
Saw him a few years ago at Patsy's in New York, just having dinner. Yeah, but great performer, and they were wonderful. I got to see Sammy Davis too when they did the Rat Pack reunion tour in the late '80s. But Dean Martin had already quit the show by then, so Liza Minnelli was there, but it was still great.
You ever, out of curiosity, did you ever see Dean live?
No, never did. Wanted to, but by the time I was going to Las Vegas, he had stopped performing by then.
Okay.
But I'll tell you, I'm always watching on YouTube the old Dean Martin shows, the variety shows he did. Not so much the roast, but the Dean Martin variety show, and with a lot of music and a lot of goofy humor. But he had such great guests, Dean with the Mills Brothers and stuff like that. Singing with them.
He adored
Love that stuff.
Dean adored the Mills Brothers.
Yes, Harry Mills was his idol. It wasn't so much Crosby as it was the Mills brother. Yeah.
Another one that was fantastic was Judy, Frank, and Dean. Frank was in great voice that night when on Judy Garland's show in '62.
Yes, and the Judy Garland, Renee Zellweger. Wow, what a performance!
Oh, fantastic! Deb and I saw that. Yeah, it was
Garland movie. That was 5 minutes into it. You're looking at Judy Garland.
Yes.
And wow, was that good? Was that good?
That was a good movie.
I love Judy. You talk about an authentic singer.
Well, you want to talk about a masterpiece? You probably have it in your collection, or you at least heard it. The '62 Carnegie Hall concert of Judy Garland.
One of the
arrangements. Oh, forget about it.
Have you ever heard an audience react?
No.
The way the audience react to anything, that is just waves of love coming at a performer whose stock and trade was bearing every ounce of her soul in front of an audience. It's just love going back and forth.
Yes.
It's phenomenal. And what a performance.
And the story when she was because she had mental issues. She was at the Waldorf and she was flipping out, and she called Tony Bennett, and Tony Bennett called Frank. And next thing you knew, the whole New York City police force was at the Waldorf checking on Judy Garland. And Tony Bennett has told that story a million times. But with that said, I want to segue into the second part of the interview. These are just random, fun questions. There's no really right or wrong answers. Whatever you come up with is
okay.
What the answer is. What is your favorite genre of movies?
It's got to be musicals. I'm stopping for Singing in the Rain and On the Town,
okay.
All that stuff. I'm watching TCM a lot, and it's all those great MGM musicals. I can't get enough of them.
Okay, I know it's going to be back in the day, but who is your favorite musical band? I'm sure it's going to be one of them from the 40s or the 50s or something like that. Who's yours?
Right now, if I'm listening to something, anything that the Count Basie Orchestra is doing, that's those kind of bands, that genre of music. Because I can't, like we said before, it's nothing that's going on now, and there was nothing in the 90s or the 80s or the 70s or 60s. It was, big band music.
Okay,
is the kind of music I like. But I'll tell you what Basie's Orchestra is something else.
And as you know well, he did the Sinatra and Basie '61, and then he did the '64. Might as well be swing. You know the song "The Good Life"?
Sure do.
Well, it was written by Sacha Distel, who was from France. The American lyric was Jack Reardon, who was a very good friend. He passed away in 2013. He's a very good friend of mine from when I was a little kid, and he wrote the English lyric for it, the words. And that was the first time, Tony Bennett had the hit on that song, but that's the first time when Frank recorded, because it's been recorded by basically everybody. He did it in an up tempo on It Might As Well Be Swing, and with Count Basie. If you had to pick between the two, the 61 or the Might As Well Be Swing Basie album, which one did you enjoy better?
I like the first album that he did, and now that's the one that had
Pennies from Heaven.
Pennies from Heaven. And, yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, I love them both. Right. I wish they'd done more.
I only have.
I wish he worked more with Duke Ellington. They only did the one album, but
that album I wasn't really a fan of.
Are the stars out tonight?
Yep.
I don't know if it's cloudy or bright. That's, I mean, you can't beat that. That's on the Basie album.
The Duke Ellington one, I didn't care for that much, to be honest with you. I wanted him to do more Duke songs, and there were songs on there that Duke didn't do that Frank did. That album didn't do it for me, and I like the Basie, even though I love Duke, but I like the Basie stuff better with Frank than I did that particular.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, they had a rapport. I mean, he was working with him, or later worked with them in Las Vegas, and had respect. I mean, and you've heard what Frank said about working with Basie's orchestra. I mean, you had to be on your toes, because if you tripped up or got lost, they were zooming by you. You had to be right there on the beat with that band.
Well, Basie made a great album with Sarah Vaughan. They made a great album together too. I mean, he worked with a lot of people, but yeah, I love Count Basie. He was the best. Okay, it's probably going to be a Sinatra one, but favorite movie? I know you said Man with the Golden Arm. Is that your favorite movie of all time, or do you have another favorite movie?
Of
anybody. It could be anybody.
Yeah, of anybody. I mean, I really like the classics. Like Citizen Kane, those type of movies. That come on every now and then. I just not so much the sweeping epics, but the real old good stuff. You can't listen if I mentioned the musical genre, which I love, but you know what, I love equally watching a great Warner Brothers 1930s gangster movie with Humphrey Bogart and Jimmy Cagney and George Raft too. I love that stuff, and obviously you stop everything you're doing if Casablanca comes on.
You know that when he flipped the coin, George Raft was in the original Scarface with Paul Muni, 1932, before Al Pacino ever did his take.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yes, which was
Flip the coin, George Raft.
That's and if you mention Scarface, that's I think back to what was it, 1931?
Yeah, 32. Yep, with Paul Muni. Yep.
That's what I think of first. Yeah.
Yep. And you remember talking about George Raft. You remember the Alka-Seltzer commercial he made in the 70s, George Raft, when he was in prison?
I don't remember that one.
I'll send you a clip.
I'll find out.
Yeah, I'll send it. It's on YouTube. George Raft Frank loved George Raft. He was one of those guys.
Everybody loved George Raft. Did you know he started out as a dancer? He was a great dancer.
There was.
Who knew? Oh yeah, that's another thing. How could you be James Cagney, be that good of an actor and play a tough guy and could dance the way he did in Yankee Doodle Dandy?
Yep, George M. Cohen.
Yeah, him dancing down the stairs. The other great dancing in the Seven Little Foys with Bob Hope when they're dancing on the table in the Friars Club.
Yep.
Phenomenal scene.
Yep. I usually ask favorite concert, but we already know it's a Sinatra one, and you named a couple. So let's flip it. I know male singer is Sinatra like me, but who is your favorite female singer?
For pure voice and the stuff that she did with Nelson Riddle, this may throw you a bit, but it's Keely Smith.
Oh, I love by herself. I mean, she was
Keely Smith by herself. Right, what a voice!
Well, she
did a voice.
She did a Sinatra album.
She did. And in fact, when she was promoting it, I believe this was around the time I got to see her one time. It was at the where Bobby Short played for years. Why am I blanking on? Not the Plaza Hotel, but I got to see her, and she played Bemelman's Bar. That it was phenomenal just to hear her with that orchestra. You know what else I saw there was Seth Macfarlane, who is terrific. What a voice! What an original! With respect to the music and the lyric and everything, and knows Sinatra stuff cold, and has a band that he does, he's got, for some, it's amazing he's got it. I love that he does, and he performs it, has those orchestrations, those shrunken down orchestrations that Sinatra did in 62 on the world tour. He's got them because they did all that stuff, all that music, that whole book of whatever 50, 60 songs that were in there that he would do 30 at a time, mix them up. He's got those and performs them. It's sensational.
Well, you mentioned Keely. Remember the album she did? I believe one of my favorite songs on it, I could see her. Her face on the cover was "I Wish You Love." Yeah. She worked Basie. Riddle did some great arrangements for her. Great arrangements for her. Keely's been "When Day Is Done." That song with one of Riddle's greatest arrangements for, including anything he did with Sinatra. Riddle's arrangement for "When Day Is Done" for Keely Smith is one of the most phenomenal pieces of music, and with that Keely vocal from about 1958. She was fantastic. She did those, when Sinatra did those albums, it was like to different, I think, Broadway people. He did duets, and I'm sure you heard it. Keely and him did "Some Enchanted Evening." Have you ever heard that? Yes. Oh, of course. Love that. Their duet on that. Yeah, and then that fun little thing they did, "Nothing in Common," and "How You Fix for Love." Yeah. Great stuff. Yep. Okay. Favorite noise or sound? Well, it's certainly not sirens and other things I hear out my window all the time. But God. That's not Frank's voice. I'll tell you what, and you don't hear it just in the other setting I'm in. Just the sound of a bat against the ball or a thump of a mitt in a baseball field is especially in spring training, is a great sound. It makes you think that spring is here, and what baseball does, which I detest, and they do it in every ballpark, and Yankee Stadium is one of the biggest offenders of this, is just muffle the sound of the game and people's conversation by blaring so much noise out of their speaker, whether it's high-pitched, hard rock or whatever type of music they're playing out of there, or just this screeching, yelling garbage that they spew out. The sounds of the game is the greatest thing. The sounds of baseball is one of the greatest sounds, and we need to preserve that. We don't need to cover that up with any artificial stuff. So I usually flip that question, but I think the least favorite would be what you just said, that noise that they're trying to cover up. That, yes, that and right. Okay. And, I got a feeling I'm going to know the answer to this one, but I'm still going to ask you. Okay. Living in Manhattan, and you got access to the greatest restaurants in the world, but what's your favorite food? Oh, well, it's got to be. I tell you what, I had one of the greatest meals I've had in a while at a place called Table in Boston on the North End, the Little Italy of Boston. But there's a lot of great restaurants. But just to give a quick plug, but it's because it's so good. My friend Jen Royal owns this restaurant on Hanover Street, and have the Sunday supper. Okay. Because you'll have the hot sausage and the pasta and one of the greatest Italian gravies you're going to ever have, and it's so good. It's so good, yeah, something like that. Okay. Just hits a spot every time, but that's a great spot. All right. If you were to hit the lottery for the $200, $300, $400 million lottery, what would be the first thing you'd do? Pay off my mortgage, one. Then move us to a bigger apartment,
too.
You sound like you live in a shoebox. You,
One bedroom in Manhattan. What are you gonna do? It's,
yeah, but still. But you're not. So you're not under the. What is it? Some places have rent control. What is it called in New York City?
not here. I mean, I'm sure they got them. I'm not that familiar with it though. But what I would do if I had disposable income like that is I would do what Frank did in '62, hire an orchestra and go around the world playing that music that way. With a sextet and just go from place to place to place and perform that music in front of a nightclub audience. That's what I would do with that money.
Okay.
So if anyone's here in this want to
give them the pick.
Wants to float my dream and we can make for profit,
there you go. There you go.
We'll be partners, and that's what I would love to do.
Okay. Pre-COVID, favorite vacation destination?
Well, we were fortunate enough, my wife and I, to go to Hawaii 2 years ago. That was fun. But I'll tell you what, if you told me pre-COVID I could go anywhere right now, you got an airline ticket, go. I'm going to Paris or London, and probably Paris first. And we were lucky enough to be last year. The Yankees played the Red Sox in London for 2 days, so we a bunch of us went out to flew out ahead a couple of days and went to Paris first. And I hadn't been in Paris in 17 years. It was the third time I've been there, and it just you fall in love with that city every time you get off the plane and take the metro in. It's just gorgeous. Love it. Love everything about it.
Okay. If you could meet one person from any time in history, dead or alive, who would you like to meet, and what would your first question be for him?
That's a great question, and I haven't given it much thought. But I do. I mean, I wish I was a history major. I was a journalism major, but I really love history. And I'd love. I'd love to have been. Around like Franklin Roosevelt when he was, taking office in the Great Depression, and had what he was thinking about his vision for the New Deal and helping America get out of what had been dire economic straits after the market crash in '29 and things like that. I really haven't given this much thought, but if I could ask questions of Roosevelt or Kennedy or Truman or just 20th century history like that interests me.
Okay. If you could sum
Probably a lousy answer.
No, it's not a lousy answer. It's a good answer. It's your answer. It's a good answer. There's no right or wrong answers. If you could sum yourself up in a sentence or two as a human being, what would you say?
I'm someone who appreciates. I hope. There are so many talented people in the business of sports writing, the business of television. What you do, what people on the stage do, and I have a deep appreciation for that talent. People who work at that talent. It's not just you show up and do what you do. There's a lot that goes into it that makes doing what performers do. And I'm talking about original performers, the people who came before us, who, to me, the stuff I do with a band, it's almost a paint by numbers thing. I'm just following in what came before me. But that original stuff, I appreciate, and I want to learn more about how they did what they did and how people do what they do on the highest levels, and just appreciate want to know more about how they do what they do.
I had to get a little zinger in there when you said came before. I said you better hurry up because I think they're coming for you with the siren in the back.
That's very close to the ambulances kind of run across the NYU lane going from.
There you go.
So I'm kind of in the crossfires at sometimes.
Okay. Final question: do you have a saying you live your life by?
Be nice to people and hope that it's reciprocated. I hope that's all. Sometimes we fail at it and aren't really conscious of it, but you really do give, get back what you give, and hopefully I'll try to remember that, and maybe we all do too. And in these harsh times politically and otherwise in this country, it's nice to see somebody smile at you and return it, and I think it's a nice way to go about your day.
Okay. If you would, Pete, give the viewers your website address.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can find my stuff that I write, on the Yankees beat at northjersey.com. I have a personal website for music dates, and we haven't done one since March, but when those are coming back up, hopefully soon, it's at petecaldera.com. And I think I got a Facebook fan page that I don't pay too much attention to. And you can find me on Twitter too, and Instagram. Just throw my name up there, you'll probably find me.
Okay. Well, hey, from one Sinatra guy to another, from one New Yorker to another.
Yeah.
And from one person to another that's probably born in the wrong era, but that's okay. It is what it is. I appreciate again you coming on the show. It was a pleasure talking to you. Stay in touch. I'll email you a couple of the things that we talked about on the show. And when you got dates coming up, let me know. We'll bring you back on again down the road. Once you're performing again, we'll talk about what's going on and go from there.
I will, Brad. I appreciate you having me on. It's been a lot of fun, great opportunity, and you're very kind. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Take care, pal.
Take care.